Hi everyone, welcome to the Creators of Products Founders Unfiltered edition of fourth episode. Today we have an amazing founder with us and with all of the intellect that comes from being from the most premium college in school in the entire country, IIT Madras. We have with us today Rishabh, who is the one of the founders of UrbanMatrix, which started in 2019. It's literally the best robotic invention company that I have currently heard of. They're a group of passionate engineers who actually love flying robots. The founders have very strong technical backgrounds and have several patents and white papers, which has actually got them to win the Best Entrepreneur Award from IIT Madras and a Service of Excellence from DRDO. So there is a whole lot of Uri in this, but we are going to come to that in some time. We also have with us, as usual, Govind, and we today have another guest with us, Sumit, who's also a partner at Fair Angels, which are, as we've known by now, are a group of young entrepreneurs who pool their capital together and invest in companies which they find to be disruptive in a big sense, which UrbanMatrix definitely solves for. So with this, I will give it to Rishabh. Rishabh, welcome here. We are creators of products. We're very, very happy to have you here.
Thank you so much, Shruti. Wonderful to be here. Thank you, Govind. Thank you so much for your time. And hi, everyone. I'm Rishabh. I'm the co-founder and CEO of UrbanMatrix Technology. We are a drone startup. We started in 2019. And the startup was founded by three IIT Madras graduates. And currently, we are based in Bangalore.
Awesome. We have with us Govind. Govind, would you please help let us know more about Sumit?
Sure, Shruti. So basically, Sumit and I go back a long time. We met in Burma, of all places, in 2014-15. Sumit was heading Burma's Flipkart that time, which he was a professional CEO of, which they eventually sold. And he moved to India. He's... Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Sorry.
We can hear it, Govind.
So he's always been in the startup space. Currently, he has French Unicorn, Miro in India. And Sumit and I have the same passion. See, we are people who want to invest our money in startups, and we put it together because we could add much more value together. We come from diverse backgrounds, and it was something we had fun doing. So that's a little bit of Sumit. I'll hand it over to Sumit now.
Thank you, Govind. I think, Shruti, it's a great pleasure to be here today. I have been listening this session from last 3 times when Govind has been hosting it with you. I think, as Govind said, that we found a lot of synergies between me and Govind. We are a very long time friends, and we said let's collaborate together more and let's help the ecosystem wherever we can. So, like, I have been an operator for almost 10 years of my life. And I understand the challenges that startups face every single day. And with my experience and learnings, if I can help them somewhere, I think that's the biggest service to the community again. So I think that has been my passion with Govind. And as you said, we're looking for very strong but passionate founders, and we back them very early. Not only with capital, but also with our knowledge. Like Rishabh can also explain more that, we have been helping him in finding talent, setting up some meetings for him wherever we can. So we are not only capital providers like any typical VC firm, but we are more also of a kind of a co-founder without a title, without a salary for the founders.
Amazing. Thank you. So Rishabh, first and foremost, how did you come about thinking of something like this? Like, I understand that as a kid, everybody wants to build a robot that can do everything for them, but to actually envision it, bring it into reality and actually make a company out of it, really want to understand how the origins of UrbanMatrix happened.
Right. So it was never, one night journey or, one day journey where I was sitting in one place and suddenly it clicked me, I have to do this. It was never like that. And I think it is never like that as well. So everything started back in 2016 in IIT Madras when I was, listening to one of the CEO of one of the companies started by one of our alumni. And he was, talking about building a company, hiring people, and not taking up job and how difficult it is and all those things. And then he coined the term that I am an entrepreneur. And that was the first time I heard the word entrepreneur. And it clicked me that this is an option as well. If at that point of time, higher studies or jobs was the only option according to me. But then he told us that you can build a company as well. It was very fascinating idea to me because as a kid also and as a person also, I was always somebody who wanted to create a solution, who wanted to build some technical product which can solve or create value to the people. For example, when I was a kid, I used to build. My house was a 3-story house. It was very difficult to take stuff from ground floor to the top floor. So I created a lift using motors and electrical systems. Similarly, there was a problem of overflowing tank. So on almost every day, you had to fill up the top tank, middle class houses, and overflowing was a big problem. So we used to hear the sound of water overflowing, and then we used to switch off the motor. And I realized that we can create a circuit using simple wiring and all, and we can probably do something about it and cut the power. But then I realized if I plug in the circuitry in the main power, everybody in the house can get a shock. So that idea didn't played very well. But anyway, that was the kind of person I was from the beginning. And that IIT Madras gave me a very, very good platform to nurture that attitude, to nurture that passion. And when I was in my first year, I started, listening to these people, listening to these CEOs, understanding the concept of entrepreneurship, starting a company, what it takes. And then the first problem was the idea. Okay, entrepreneurship is something you can start a company, but you should solve something, right? So everybody was talking about that problem which you are solving should be meaningful. It should be, something which a lot of people are facing. So I started observing. So for almost 4, 5, 6 months, I used to just observe. I used to observe about problems in my college. I used to observe problems in, my near circle. My father facing some problems, my friends facing some problems. But when you are in college, you have so less experience about life and domains of life that it's very difficult to come up with a plan or idea. So I started with very small and weird ideas like a brush with a alarm clock, so that when you switch off the alarm, you have a brush in your hand. So after that, I came up with an idea of building a tablet which can be connected to the networks of any restaurant, Wi-Fi networks of any restaurant, and you can order in the restaurant at a table. And I used to go to McDonald's, KFC, and I used to try to understand how people are standing in lines, what time they're spending just standing in lines, and what is the salaries of people who are serving these people, because I'm ultimately planning to take their jobs. So how much money I can save. And that was the initial phase of entrepreneurship. But none of these ideas, really took any step, I would say, because after the journey, after the idea, we'll talk about that later on. But that is a very difficult thing. So
Yes.
nothing actually came up in a real sense. So all these ideas were floating in my mind. I was getting frustrated. I have to do something. I have to make something. So ultimately, I started working on a project. It was a drone, and that point of time, drones were very, very exciting things, because people were not aware about drones. Nobody in India, no common man, was aware about drones. Today, the scene has almost completely changed. Everybody knows about it, but that time, literally nobody knew about the concept of drone. So I started building drones as a hobby, as a project, and then whatever we built got patented, and it was something great. I worked on it for almost 8 months, and I was not worried about building business at that point of time. I was focused on building the product. So I made a classic mistake which most of engineers do. We start building something without understanding the problem. So that was the first thing which I did with that project, and that project got selected in some national awards, won some national awards, and that gave me an idea that whatever I'm building right now, it have military application, it have a lot of civil applications as well, and maybe I can build a company around it. So I was so excited that day that sleep was out of the question. I was just researching on internet that how to do build a company and all those things. And then while doing that research, I realized people have already done this. And it was such a
Shocker.
disappointment, because I was like, this is my idea. I've come up with this idea. Now the world is mine. But that didn't happen. I realized a lot of people in US, China has already done this, exactly same product, exactly same services, and they're doing it. So I was totally devastated. I was so depressed that for almost 1 week, I didn't go to lab. And I was wondering that after 8-10 months of working hard, finally I came up with an idea, and everything is great, but somebody has already done this. And at that point of time, somebody shared a video on one of the groups in IIT Madras, entrepreneurial groups. In that video, it was the concept of first mover advantage. The concept of first mover disadvantage was elaborated. That nobody who ever started something for the first time has actually have been successful. There are no examples like that. Facebook was 10th or 11th social media app. Google was very 21st or 22nd search engine, and so on. It's all about execution, and the markets are huge. So if you are coming up with an idea which is unique, nobody else has done this, there are only two things. One is either you are crazy, right? Or second thing is that you have come up with something very brilliant, and you are already a billionaire. And both of these things, first one is more likely. So so that was the journey of coming up with the idea. So I realized that I don't have to give up like that if somebody else has done this. And from there, next phase of my journey started.
That's amazing. And how did you meet up with the other founders of the company? I mean, I'm sure they were classmates, but like to have a same understanding and vision enough to build. This is not a project. You're not going to get out of this in 2 weeks after your grading is done. This is pretty permanent.
Yeah, been almost 6-7 years now. Yeah.
So how did you go about meeting the rest of the founders?
I would say I'm very fortunate. I have two great co-founders with me, and the value of a good co-founder is you cannot comprehend that value. So for me, one of my co-founder, Ashutosh, he was my senior, and 1 year senior, and he used to teach me how to build drones. I mean, we were in the same club, so to say, student-run club, where we used to go and build drones, and he used to teach me how to do these electronic things and stuff like that. And then after a couple of years, we actually met again in around 2019-20 time. He was working on some project and I was working on similar project, and we decided to work on it together. And a professor was also supporting us, so we were working in the lab for almost 6 months. And after that, that project got selected by United Nations to be presented in Africa, Ethiopia. So we went there, we took the drone, we took the whole project, and for almost a week we were there presenting it in front of everybody, politicians, industrialists, and people across the world.
I think we lost you there.
At that time, we decided that we can actually start up just two of us, and we can build our own company. And that was a time when the corona was just evolving. It was like December, January 2020, and as soon as we decided to start a company, there was a news that there is a countrywide lockdown and you have to go back home. So we went home. We went back home, and we were just figuring out how to do startup, because I didn't sit for placements, and because of the corona, we were sitting at home, and it was a very confusing time for us. And at that time, there was no money, there was no support system, there was no clarity, there was no third person in our company. We were just two people. And at around that time, it was the most challenging and testing time, I would say. And we decided to come to Chennai as soon as the country opened up, in the middle of all that chaos. And we came back to Chennai with whatever money we had. We had very little money, some money from some competition which we won, and we took some money from family and friends and came back to Chennai. So that was the journey of two of us. And then when we came to Chennai and started working on these things, started generating some revenue. After a couple of months, our third co-founder, Divyanshu, he gave us a call and he said, I have received a very good job offer. I have received a fully funded PhD offer from Texas A&M University, but because of COVID, I cannot go to US and I don't want to join this company for 1 year. I want to join your startup and explore what you guys are doing just for a couple of months like that. And at that point of time, we were desperately looking for a software engineer, and he has a very strong software background.
Nice.
So we said, why not? We have a project lined up for you, and just come in and like that. So next day we booked his tickets. He came to Chennai, and three of us started working on this project. So within a couple of months, we realized that whatever he was doing was far more valuable than just a simple hire, right? A hire cannot do the things which he was doing, and we decided that we need a software leadership in the company at a founder level. So we offered him the position of third co-founder, and then he took 1 month to talk to his family, talk to his friends. It's a great and a very big decision for somebody who has a US life in front of him and a great life in India if he wants.
Correct.
So for almost 1 month, every day, me and Ashutosh, we used to cross our finger, please say yes, please say yes. And after 30 days, he finally, said, yes, I will be joining this. And that's how we three started. And today we are around 11, 12 people. And we have shifted our office to Bangalore.
So as a founder, you're either convincing yourself about the idea, then you're convincing your co-founder to come up, then you're convincing an investor to come up, and then you're convincing the customers to buy it. So
exactly.
That's the one skill everyone always needs. Govind, to you.
Hi, Rishabh. So obviously we've spoken multiple times, but tell me now, drone startups are there. Hardware is difficult to raise money. VCs are not anti-hardware, but VCs don't like hardware much. How did you define the role of hardware in your startup? And did you ever think that to raise money, we may give up hardware and build it as a scalable or a platform play?
A very good question. Something which I realized very late in my journey. I started raising funds in December 2020. And around that time, I was confident that, we are three co-founders from IIT Madras, and there was fourth person by that time. He was also from IIT Madras, a team of 4 people from the best engineering college in India. And with that, everybody will be ready with their money and it will be a piece of cake. But I was dead wrong. Realized that, there are a lot of other factors which comes into play, and raising money is not, it's a very, very serious task. People are trusting you with their money. That's the biggest kind of trust. So around that time, the way we were pitching our, idea and our plan, the software component was very less. I mean, internally it was very big, but we ourselves didn't realize that it is that big, because the software concept was started with Divyanshu, and whatever we were building was still in testing phase, and we didn't realize the power of whatever was in our hand at that point of time. So we were pitching about manufacturing drones, and pretty soon, very soon, I mean, almost after 2 months of pitching to various investors, I clearly realized that the concept of software, SaaS, service, and product are very different. These kind of businesses are very different. If you are building just a service business, it is very difficult to get the margins to raise, to basically grow really fast and create that value. And basically, there are a lot of threats in service kind of a model. We realized that if you are building a hardware product in India, it is very, very difficult. And now investors don't like hardware startup, or they are not suitable for VC money. And there is a reason for that. Because hardware products are very easy to copy, right? So if you're building just a pure hardware product, for example, a massager, which is just a mechanical device and which can massage your head very well. If we have come up with that kind of a design, nobody will give you money, right? Because anybody can buy your product, copy it, produce it at a cheaper rate or at the same rate also, and cut your margins. And if that goes to China, you're gone. Chinese people will do that at half the rate. So that is the real threat. which hardware companies faces. So pure hardware products are very difficult. If you're building a rocket, that's a different concept. But apart from that, even in deep tech, there are limits to just build a hardware product and scale up. So that was the reason, that these are the things which I realized. And I don't blame VCs. They have to make money, and their business model is like that. So it doesn't make sense for them to invest in purely hardware based business. And it doesn't make sense for UrbanMatrix also to just be like that, because these threats are not for investors. These threats are on company at the end of the day. So what we realized is that we four of us, we sat together for almost a month and did a lot of brainstorming, that what are the software capabilities which we are building, what are the things which we can scale up. And during that 1 month brainstorm around January, February 2021, we came up with a very good idea of integrating softwares into our systems. So around that time, nobody in India was solving that software problem. And it was a big problem because the drones which you are building in India, or you are seeing in India, they have a very weak software infrastructure around them. So they're very unreliable and very difficult to use or integrate. And these Chinese drones have very good software infrastructures. So their drones are so easy to use and very reliable as well at the same time. So we realized the power of software. We realized the power of building platforms along with the drone, so that we can scale up and provide that experience. And around that time, we started pitching that software part as a third product, along with the drone and the controller, which is also built by us. And after that, we started getting better responses from the investors. And they understand software much better than the hardware in India. So around that time, we realized that this is the right way to go. We need VC money, and software is how we can convince them that we can scale up, and there are basically moat around our business model. Nobody can easily copy us, because it's not just the hardware. The chip which goes on the drone has our own software, so it gives us the command. It protects our product as well. Nobody can copy it. So that was the main game changer. And after that, it was easier for us to convince investors. And even then, even after that, as Govind mentioned, that investors actually asked us, if you can just build the software part of it, we are interested. But if you want to do both, we are not interested. So at that point of time, we decided to stick with the both, and we had to say no to a couple of investors who offered us this. And so far, we are still on the same path, same journey. We are building hardware as well as the software. But we're not very hardcore manufacturing company. We do manufacturing, but it's like from our partner vendors, and we basically do the assembly, electronic software testing, and those kind of things.
Go in, Sumit.
Sure, thanks, Rishabh. So my last question, then I'll hand it over to Sumit. So Rishabh, everyone finds food delivery sexy, military application sexy, but you've chosen more on land surveys, security. Any reason, any data, or how did you evaluate these markets versus those markets? Was it competitive? Was it market size? Or how did you decide to choose the less sexier markets?
So the origins or the core of that decision is technology, and the other layers are market opportunities, readiness, government regulations, and all those other factors. But the core is technology. So as I've said that I was building drones from 2016. I've built multiple drones, worked with agricultural companies like Syngenta, Bayer, Tata. I worked with survey companies. I worked with even warehouse management companies to build warehouse management drones. Ashutosh has worked extensively for 2 years almost on delivery drones, and even not just delivery drones which can carry humans, right? So we are coming from a tech background where we have done all that. Not at a product level. I clearly understand the difficulty between a prototype and a product now. So whatever we were doing was at a prototype level. So we have done all these applications, realized that to build a business quickly, we cannot bet on something which is uncertain and which will basically create a threat and cash flow crunch in the company for next 2 years. We have to start generating revenue very fast. That was our first intention. For example, in agricultural drones, you don't just have to worry about the drone itself. You have spraying systems, you have spraying patterns, you have different crops. Different crops require different kind of chemical. You have to worry about the chemical because you cannot use the traditional chemical. Drones will have a special high volume chemicals. They're very highly dense chemical compositions. So at the same time, regulations were also very uncertain at that point of time. Today, a couple of months back, regulations became more open. Nobody knew about that in full extent. So when we took the decision of focusing on the areas where we are focusing on, the main factor was technology. That whatever we were building was, we can easily build, not easily, but fast and more reliably build those drones and sell those drones in the next 1 year. If I start working on agricultural drones, for example, right now, it will take a lot of time. Farm sizes in India are very less, so operational costs are very high. So there are a lot of economical factors also associated with these other applications. Similarly, you can find a lot of applications in niche market, but that has to be supported with a lot of other factors. For example, delivery. We are excited about delivery. UrbanMatrix might enter into delivery in near future or maybe after 1 year or so. But at the moment, we cannot do 10 applications at the same time, and we don't want to do that as well. Delivery, as far as I understand, it's going to happen. You will, it will be a common thing in 10 years. But think about what Google has done. Think about what Facebook has done with their delivery projects. Amazon has done with their delivery projects. They started these projects 2011, 2012. So it's and companies like Google with hundreds of millions of dollars funding pumping into these kind of projects. If we look at those projects and their learnings, what we have seen is that in Australia, they were doing it for 4 years, daily testing for 4 years. The product was ready 4 years before, but they were doing testing for 4 years. And the reason was that the kind of reliability which is required for a delivery drone is very, very difficult to achieve. So even there is a failure of 0.1%, that is not acceptable because it can kill somebody, right? Even if you make corridors, air corridors for these delivery drones and everything like that, you cannot assure that if it will fall, it won't fall on somebody's head. So that is the biggest threat. Second biggest threat in delivery is it can be really very easily be misused for terrorist activities. A small drone, 1.4 kg drone, was thrown at Jammu Kashmir airport. That is a very small drone. You don't even require a lot of licenses for that. And that created a lot of problem. Imagine a drone with carrying capacity of 10 kgs. 10 kgs of chemical can kill thousands of people. 10 kgs of explosive can blast the whole apartment. So these are the real threats which are there, right? And how to mitigate these threats is a very big challenge. And there, government has to come in and create that whole infrastructure. And what I realized is government will take time to create that infrastructure because we are seeing that how from 2016 to 2021, the government has created these platforms. It took them a lot of time. And these platforms which they have created are very basic today. But delivery will require much more sophisticated systems in place to be really commercialized. So what I believe is companies like Idea Forge and other big companies in India, they are not building delivery drones, right? And there is a reason for that because they understand that commercialization will take time. So whatever you are seeing in the delivery space is at experimental stage today. Government is very excited, but to be very honest, they don't understand technology to a certain extent. And most of the announcements which are happening from ministers, they are basically to create enthusiasm among the public. But when their analysts and people in the government will start drafting these policies and creating all these security checks in place, that whole process will take time. It is a very complicated problem, and that is my take on delivery.
Thanks, Rishabh. So in summary, it's a question of speed of going to market plus being on the right side of regulation and ability to make them quickly. That's good to hear. So Sumit, over to you. Then Shruti, I think we have a lot of audience questions as well.
Yeah, I think Rishabh, thanks a lot again. It's been always good to talk to you, man. I think I love this conversation with you. One quick question, and then again, put a small analogy here. When I met you first time, I came back to Govind and said that, boss, he's building the Apple of this industry. The Apple means you create the entire hardware and software together. And I'm a big fan of Apple. I always believe that the entire ecosystem together plays a much more valuable and a much more profitable game compared to just hardware or just software. My question to here is that you rightly said that you don't need to be the first mover advantage in any industry today. But what are the biggest product USPs or product moats which you could share with the audience here about UrbanMatrix, and what were the reasons for picking those product features?
Right. So it was a long journey, right? So when we started building drones in 2016, the drones were very basic. The cost of the whole drone was around 20,000, 25,000, and you can fly it one time. Next time it will fly or not, nobody can say. So those kind of drones, from the Chinese kit, we can today also we can build a drone in around 25,000 rupees. But they were very unreliable, very unstable drone systems, and we have seen a lot of crashes in those days on those drone systems. So it was very, very difficult for us to envision a product which people can trust and use with reliability. And it was unimaginable for us to, even comprehend that such a product can be given to somebody and he can use it for 4 or 5 years. Because we were flying these drones and every other day it was falling off. So that was the condition of the technology at that point of time. It was very unreliable. Nobody was building reliable product except for DJI from China. And that's why they still are the kings of this market. They figured it out, but nobody else could. And one of the reasons they figured it out was that their whole ecosystem is controlled by them. Their motors are built by them. Their chipset is built by them. Their software is their own. Their gimbal system, GPS system, everything is in-house. Even propellers, even small components are in-house. But anyway, they cracked it, and nobody else was doing that at that point of time, and we were very worried about it. What to do about this, how to build that reliability and all. So when we realized that this won't work out like that, then slowly we shifted to thinking about how we can make it reliable. The challenges we were facing was about the software. So the whole mission which you are planning to do on a drone has to be planned accordingly. This is the area I want to fly the drone. This is the path the drone should follow. In emergency situations like low battery, high wind speed, what should happen? And there are a lot of other things, when we talk about flying a drone. So the software which we were using was very unreliable. Half the time it was starting up, half the time it was not. And there was no alternative to that. You have to, learn how to use that software. You have to open your laptop, connect the drone to your laptop, and orient the drone every time you want to fly the drone. It was so complicated process that it was not possible for a consumer to use that product. It was not consumer friendly at all. And these were the problems which we have faced for years. And we have used different softwares and realized that they are also not working, and we got frustrated with that. We also saw that combining different technologies on drones is very difficult, and reliability issues start cracking up because of that integration or challenges in that integration. If you want to integrate a small sensor, it is a threat. At the end of the day, it can cause trouble in the other systems in the drone. So the whole integration of a lot of different components is a very tricky thing, and the problem is that every component has their own software infrastructure behind it, right? If you are using a camera, it processes that video which is coming in on board. So if you open any camera, there will be a chipset. Alone, a single lens and a sensor cannot do anything. They have to process that. Similarly, for every sensor, there is a process going on. So when we realize that everything has a software backing, and once you have figured out how that software backing works or how that backend infrastructure works, you can point out the problems, and then you can solve these problems and make system more reliable and integration more reliable. So these two things, the planning software and the integration software on board the drone. So these two things we realized that are technically the gap right now, and then we started working on it in 2020 aggressively. So we basically focused on these two things, and still our focus is that, and that basically gives us a leverage where the whole software ecosystem which runs on the drone is ours. We have our own operating system. We're calling it Matrix operating system, Matrix OS. And at the same time, we are working with the battery systems, making them our own, making the code which runs the battery system our own. And similarly, the camera, which basically doing the processing, we are making it our own, as in not the hardware part, but the software infrastructure behind it, so that we can ensure whatever the problem people are facing, we can solve it very quickly. And once we are solving it, that whole cycle will make the product more and more reliable over the period of time.
Okay.
And the second thing is the software ecosystem on cloud. So we have connected the drone with the cloud platform. So our drones are 4G enabled. You can see the live video footage sitting anywhere around the globe from the drone. And apart from that, it does a lot of other things because of that connectivity feature. All these BVLOS or delivery systems which we have to build in future has to have these capabilities. So we already have built that, and the cloud platform which we are building is basically providing our clients end-to-end solution. Now they have to fly the drone, which is very easy to do. Once they collect the data, they feed it to our cloud web-based platform, and there they can process the data, work with the pilots, manage their flights, and see the health reports of the drones, and so on. So multiple drones can be managed very easily, and for security they can see live video footage on their consoles. So a lot of possibilities with these features, and that's what make us unique right now in India.
No, that's what I think. That's the reason why we decided to back you, Rishabh. I think the entire thesis that you shared today is something that we were really impressed when we met you. One little tough question, maybe. So the entire drone space is an ecosystem play, Rishabh. You know that it needs a lot of things that you will build on your own, and a lot of equipments or the parts to build that hardware together, right? And this is where I still feel India is still not ready, or you can say the still industries are not ready to create that kind of precision tools to build a fantastic drone setup. What do you think as an entrepreneur you would expect in the next couple of years in terms of how India could play a bigger role in building this equipment? I could say the fine engineering equipments to support the entire drone startup or drone space in India.
You are absolutely right, Sumit. We are very behind in that sense. For example, the DJI factory, if you visit in China, nobody in India can replicate it. Not even Mahindra, not even Tata, not even DRDO. Nobody. So small things like building a camera and everything else. Even the phone camera you cannot build in India. Nobody has that technological understanding and capabilities. Chipset nobody is building in India, right? So these are the core high deep tech technologies which are not there, unfortunately, in India, and that's a very big problem. So all these EV startups are struggling with this. All these robotic startups are struggling with it. Any startup who have a product, right, are struggling with this. They are buying every component from China, and unfortunately, apart from China, there are very less alternatives. Some companies are in Taiwan, but again, there are a lot of political conflicts. But companies from US and Europe are very expensive, so it's very difficult to get raw material or electronic material from these countries. It's a very messy situation, to be very honest. And when we talk about future 4-5 years ahead, I think there are established companies, established brands, companies with turnover of, let's say, $500 million or $500 million, like that. They will enter into small things where they're already doing manufacturing. For example, a company who is manufacturing electric motors can enter into a market where they're manufacturing brushless electric motors and cater to that market. I don't think any small startup can build that infrastructure, because it requires a lot of partnerships. It requires a lot of information, money, and infrastructure to be set up initially. So I think with the support of the government, with PLI schemes, there will be companies, even startups backed by these big players, who will start developing these small components. Somebody in Madras, for example, IIT Madras developed that chipset for the first time. That is a starting point, right? Similarly, somebody I know are starting building the drone motors in India. And now their motors are not best in the world, but again, that's a starting point. So I think we will see these kind of things. Somebody will start building the battery technology. Nobody is building the cells right now in India, but maybe in future we'll start some big company investing in the cell technology, and then maybe acquiring a couple of startups and going from there. So I think that is the future. If government is supportive, if our industrialists are visionary, uh, we can see a lot of potential in India. But I think right now it's too early to say. There are very few people who have that kind of a vision in India. But the good thing is there are some people today, and there is some kind of work in that direction. It's not zero, but it's too early, I would say. And if the growth rate of that kind of work is good, then in 4 5 years we'll be in a very good position as a country for these kind of products. But if that didn't happen, that doesn't happen, there are troubles in import export, government is not supportive of these things, then it might be a problem, and we can potentially face a lot of problems, and product companies will basically get crushed, and few who will flourish will basically have great tie-ups with these other companies, or maybe their manufacturing is outside of India. That is a very common thing. Boat, a great example. A boat, I think everybody knows that product company Boat, with a lot of products. They started their company just like Micromax, by buying products, not buying, giving orders to China to build the product and rebranding it, and then doing the resales in India. But now maybe maybe you don't know, but now Boat has started doing the manufacturing, hardcore manufacturing in India. So that's a great step. So if companies like that start building in India, I think that will be something very, very important for the future of products in India.
Thank you, Rishabh. I think you already answered my next question in the same question itself. So it was about PLI. Just for the sake of audience on this platform. So when we were raising funds for UrbanMatrix, and at the same time, coincidentally, the government of India announced PLI schemes in drone. And we saw a massive surge in interest in investing in UrbanMatrix, in which a lot of investors that time. So definitely the political ecosystem also plays a very strong role in emerging technology startups in India. And I think, Rishabh, moving from technology to a little bit more of soft skills, because I think a startup, from my experience, is also not about just the three co-founders, also the first core member, or what I call the core. I call it the nucleus of the startup. Tell me something about the journey of building the nucleus. Apart from the three co-founders, what are this may be my last question here, is the nucleus you built of UrbanMatrix, and I think it will help a lot of entrepreneurs, because I think that plays a very big role in the success or failure of a startup.
Understood. So the only thing which I think I can say to the entrepreneurs out there who are trying to build businesses is you have to be very focused, open-minded, very sharp at all the times. You cannot sit idle for 2 days thinking about I'll think about it after the weekend. You have to be on your toes. You have to be aware about what's going on, and be that there should be a fire all the time within you. Now that doesn't mean that you don't have the low points, right? You will have a lot of low points, and if you are able to get up, bounce back. I say this, the bouncing back attitude. If you can bounce back at every failure, at every low point somehow, and keep fighting, that's all you need actually. So that's a great saying by Jeff Bezos, that somebody asked him, what does it take to be a great entrepreneur as a person? So he said that it's not IQ, it's not how smart people are, because a lot of smart people works under me. A lot of people with great IQ, great degrees works under me. It's not those two things. It's the bouncing back attitude. So the successful entrepreneurs, successful people will keep bouncing back, keep trying to refine themselves, keep trying to be a better version of themselves, keep learning, keep bouncing back. These are the personal skills which are required for any entrepreneur. I think the core, the nucleus of any entrepreneur, I would say.
Thank you, Rishabh. I think amazing, as always, chatting with you. Shruti, all over to you for the audience questions.
Yes, I have a barrage, and I know that all of them are directing it directly to me, so you don't see them, but we will definitely go over time. All right, the first one, not being first movers in drones technically should have been a good thing, right? From the laws and other perspective.
So the timing of a startup is the single most important factor of success of a startup or not. That is not my saying. It's a research done
Yeah.
by some US university. I don't know, but it's a scientific fact. So I would say that first mover advantage is nothing. I have never seen first mover advantage. It's always second mover or third mover. Somebody has to remove the snow, and then you can walk on the path. But for us personally, I think we are a little late, as in 1 year earlier, if we would have started, we were in a little bit more better position. That is personally what I believe.
All right. The second one is, how did you go from prototyping to scaling in a hardware space, as like software hardware products cannot be reiterated at the speed of what a software product does?
Right. So if you study how Apple figured out this problem, because Apple was building computers, and Steve Jobs said that you don't have to build a final a product which is finished, which is complete. At the same time, he was pushing people in his company to build a product which is so nice, so complete, and these are two contradicting thoughts, right? So what I have realized is it definitely takes lot of iterations and long iteration cycles for any hardware startup, any IoT startup. And any software startup can do that very fast. They can scrap up the ideas, they can build a new platform very easily compared to hardware products. Hardware products have to rely on a lot of other small components, other third-party vendors, and so on. My take on this is you have to keep a very good balance and very good planning in these scenarios. So you have to plan very fast and very 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 far ahead in the future. So if there are 4 components which I have to buy in third month from now, you should place those orders earlier. But what happens is you cannot predict sometimes, and that's a challenging situation, and there is no easy answer or one answer to that. But you have to plan very very carefully, plan in far ahead in the future, and whatever you have planned, stick to that. Don't go around hundreds of applications. Trust on yourself, pick one application or one product at a time, and trust on that product, trust on your decision. Don't do 4 or 5 things after one another. Be focused, and to do things more faster in hardware iterations, I would say that get more people, maybe hire interns. People will help at the end of the day.
Another one, and Hari, we'll come to you right when we get to your order of question. So the next one is, how did you prioritize outsourcing versus manufacturing in-house, as both involve their own difficulties in dependability and ownership of business model pricing based, basically?
Great question. We have struggled with this a lot in the past, and the best advice I received, and whenever you're struggling, ask. I mean, build a network where you can ask, experienced people. So when we did our asking, we received this answer that if you have built a hardware product which is unique, which has the IP, not just the design part. Design part, getting patents on design is according to me useless, waste of money and energy. But if you have built something really unique, a mechanism to pull out the weights, which is very complex, and uh, it's unique for sure, then go for patent, and basically don't do this outsourcing, because that's the core which you are building. Protect this and figure out the manufacturing, because it will be complicated, but that's the real value as a company you will build. So manufacturing that complicated thing will be your real value. But if you are not doing something like that, your product is fairly simple, the manufacturing is fairly simple, you don't have really good IP, deep tech IP in that, just outsource it. That is the best option as a startup. You can scale up faster, understand if people really want that or not. So that's the line which we find useful.
All right. Hari, you can go ahead and unmute yourself, ask your question, please.
Sure, thanks for connecting. Hi, I have two questions, so I'll try to, if I can do that.
Hari,
Rishabh, you said something on the lines of the investors were asking for, changing the line of hardware to software, then only they would agree to move on, right? So basically your roadmap is kind of defined by somebody else. Am I taking it wrong?
Yeah, definitely. So look, a lot of people will tell you a lot of things, right? And it's at the end of the day your choice and your understanding and your experience to do whatever you find right at the end of the day. We didn't felt that we should shift at that point of time. We had a good hardware capabilities, and we realized that with just software it is not possible to sell the whole product or whatever value we wanted to create or integrate with any other product. So alternative was not feasible according to us, and we took a decision that was driven by our understanding as founders. And at that point of time we said no to these investors, but we definitely listen to these investors. We definitely take their comments and try to understand why they are putting those comments, what is their thought process, because ultimately they are also experienced, smart people, and it's always good to listen to them and try to understand their thought process.
are such investors in room here today? All right. Hari, we'll come back to you if we finish off with the rest of the questions. I have a barrage of questions here. Okay. There are a few government-related questions, as in the part where do you get push? All right. So the questions are, did they try to benefit from the government for the space as they are pushing hardware manufacturing? Another one is about subsidies, which is basically, did the China electronics ban and the subsidy, if available, made an impact? So both of these are almost the same line of questioning.
Right. Right now, we are not directly taking any advantage from the government laws and stuff like that, but it is like, it will take some time. The laws which government has come up with are still at, drafting stage. It's not final. A lot of ambiguity is there. We all know in the drone industry that it's not final. So, we are still waiting for the next set of rules and regulations, which will come in December, January time. So at the same time, we are sure that it will be more liberal, more structured, and whatever we are doing is not under threat anymore. And we could not say this in 2018 or before that. After that, there was some laws, but after 2021, we are very certain that a drone startup can do businesses in India. That is for sure. But beyond that, it is very difficult to comment on anything else which government is doing at this point of time.
Okay. Do you plan to outsource drones to, or the components to, the manufacturers for companies like Dunzo, Ola, Swiggy, who are actually testing drone delivery mechanisms? Is that in plan?
Not in active plan, but as I've said, we are focused on building the product for surveillance and survey and mapping right now. And our whole focus is on building a stable, reliable, and easy to use product. So we are focused on that. We're doing a lot of testing, and we are making it more reliable every day. In future, as I've said, if we want to go into delivery, it will take some time, but that is something which we are not actively doing right now.
Awesome. Ankit, if you're here, you can unmute yourself and ask that question. I don't think Ankit's here. Okay, I'll ask that question for him.
Hey, am I audible?
Hey, you're here. Yes, you are. Go ahead.
Sure. So I wanted to have a perspective on how long do you think before drones become as personal to a consumer as what laptops and smartphones are today?
I think drones which are under 250 grams are legal, and you can fly them at around 35 feet and below, and that is the height, which is not much, but at the same time couple of floors up, that you can imagine 35 feet. So these kind of drones are still very easily available. You can buy them, you can use them, and it's a consumer based drones. And technology has allowed people to build drones under 250 grams, and they're not threat to anybody. Even if they crash, they don't possess any serious harm. So I think that is already there out there in the market as a product. And if you see US and Europe, their consumer drones are in every electronic store. And uh, uh, it's a very big industry, dominated by DJI, and more smaller and smaller drones are coming up. I think it's already there, but in India, people are aggressively buying these consumer drones, as far as I know. Racing is another a big market where there is a niche set of people who wants to do drone racing, so they are building that also. DJI has come up with a drone racing product. So you can imagine the market size, because a company like DJI entering into drone racing and bringing in their product. So I think in India, a lot of people are doing this, but again, India is so big and so varied that we don't see these people very often. It will change, and I think n- n- any Indian company, I don't know any Indian company who is building that under 250-gram consumer drones. It is very difficult to do that without having all the other infrastructure, which is not there right now in India, and keeping the price low. I think a lot of Chinese toys and drones are coming in India with that kind of, to capture that kind of market.
Sure, that answers the question. Just a small follow-up on the same. Do you think there are any possible productivity related or any other useful segments of use cases for on the consumer side? So what we have seen as of now, that even these manufacturers, what they provide, and the consumers that are using these drones are usually for either recreational purposes, or say you could probably find them for video recording, one possible use case, or like as you mentioned, drone racing. Do you think these could possibly in future be a part of a lifestyle for people, like what smartphones have become now or laptops have become?
Um, Understood. So there is a company in US. What they are doing is it's a security company. What they are doing is they're providing you a small box. Now there is a small drone on top of that box which recharges itself, and it's completely automated system. So you can put that box on top of your roof or somewhere in the house as well, and it provides that security using the drone. So at any point of time, you can fly the drone from anywhere around the globe using your smartphone, because everything is connected to internet. And then the drone will fly and move around the house or even outside the house to make sure that everything is okay. It has capabilities like human detection and all those things. So it can detect if there is some intrusion or something like that. But that's a good example of how that can be integrated. But apart from that, these drones makes a lot of noise. It's very I don't think right now there is any meaningful application for those kind of consumer roles or integration within lifestyle. I think right now we don't have those kind of things. It's an expensive equipment and it makes a lot of noise. So these are things which we have to consider as well.
Awesome, thank you. Ankit, if it's okay, we'll move to the next question.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Next, we have our in-house superwoman, Radhika. Would you want to unmute yourself and ask a question, Radhika?
Thank you, Shruti. Hi, Rishabh. Thank you for conducting this session. I have a lot of questions, so I'll just start with one. I am.
You're getting one question. You're getting one question, Radhika.
Yeah, I'm just gonna ask him one question. So I am an amateur drone enthusiast. I started looking at it probably less than a month ago, and I'm a product designer, so I know nothing about the engineering or the technical side of things. So I was wondering if you could elaborate a bit on what kind of data points do you gather with your technology, and how does, or rather does privacy become a concern, especially women's privacy? So that's just one question separated into two. Thank you.
Thank you. So in terms of what goes into the drone and what is the technical aspect of the drones, right now, can you please repeat the first part of the question?
What are the kind of data points that you?
If you could just very simplify it and tell me that what kind of data points do you gather when a drone is flying over a particular area?
Right. So it depends upon the kind of sensors which you are putting on the drone. Now, drones can carry a lot of different kind of sensors today, right? First is normal camera, second is thermal camera, third is LiDAR camera, fourth is some other kind of sensor to monitor what is going on the air quality side, for example, what is the nitrogen level, SO2 level, whatever. So it all depends upon the sensor which you're putting on the drone. Now, let's talk about the most common sensors, which is the RBG sensor, which is basically the normal camera. Now the drone has that normal camera, so it can capture the photos and capture the videos. Apart from that, the drone has a GPS sensor, so it also captures the coordinate of these photos and wherever the drone is flying. Then a drone also has a sensor which detects the height of the drone, so it has height data also. Now it also has a sensor to monitor what is the angle of the camera, so it also captures or collects the data at which the photo has been captured. What is the angle of that camera? What is the angle of different components of the camera also, because there are 3-4 axes, right? uh, Apart from that, the drone also captures the orientation. So is it pointing north, is it pointing south, what is the orientation? So there are a lot of data points which drone captures. Now this, if we go a little bit more technical, it also captures the acceleration and all the 3 axes, speed, and all the other technical parameters. It also captures uh, basically a little bit more than that. I cannot comment on that as of now. But these are the things or data points which are being captured. Now, the most threatening or from security point is basically the GPS coordinates, and the of course the data, which is the photo. Um, Technically, everything is potentially can become a national threat. So that is the biggest reason why these Chinese drones were banned in India last year, because they were connected to internet via your mobile phone, and then they can send in the data where the drone is flying. What are the areas, what is the height of the flight, and all those things. Maybe potentially sending photos also. So those are the real concerns. And when we talk about privacy, uh, so basically today privacy is already it's a major concern, but at the same time very limited. Everybody has a phone, so everybody can take a video and it's legal. Everybody can a photo in a public place and it's a legal thing. So in terms of privacy, the data has to be played with very very carefully. If you are doing any project work, uh, you have to take permissions and you have to have all these other things in place before you are flying there. You cannot fly on anybody's property. It's illegal right now. So in terms of privacy, it's a big concern. It can be misused very, very easily. The drones can be misused very, very easily for wrong kind of surveillance and stuff like that. And there is no technical check on these things. Anybody can take a drone and do all these things. One way to go about stopping this is placing a protocol called NPNT, which government actually introduced in 2018. Where before every flight, you have to give location of the drone, flight path, and everything to the government server, and then they will allow you to fly the drone, and they will record, pilot license and drone number and stuff like that. So there is a record of whatever you have done, so it can be traced back. That is a very good way to solve this problem at a certain extent. But apart from that, if that is not implemented, it's a big threat. It can be used for wrong kind of surveillance, and people have used it. For example, terrorists or wrong organizations, communities have used it for collecting data and seeing where the people are going and stuff like that.
Amazing. I'll actually take up the other Radhika question there. Since you're innovating and very fresh in the tech for India, what kind of user research do you or your team end up doing to ascertain the information and the data that you will end up needing?
Right. So that is again very, very important part of product market fit. And that is ongoing process. That is very challenging task. So what we do is we try to interact with as many people as possible in these different industries. Now we used to do that, but now we have focused to a couple of industries. And what is the best option? You can't Google this thing, right? It's not possible to just Google and see what is going on in the industry. You have to go and talk to these people, understand their problems, even live with them for a couple of days and see their day-to-day operations. And that is the best way to build that intelligence, I think.
And I think this one hits very close to Radhika. How has the hiring journey been for you in the domain roles? I know, Radhika.
Hiring in which roles?
In this particular industry-centric roles.
Very difficult. Tech hiring in India is very difficult. A lot of software engineers are there, but if you talk about IoT, if you talk about a little bit hardware kind of things, embedded engineers and stuff like that, it's very difficult to find good people. So hiring is a very challenging task, but at the same time, extremely important at this stage. So I can elaborate on to that, but I think the time is very less.
Yes.
But in short, it's difficult. Yeah.
All right. If Hari has another question, I think I can just squeeze one more question, and then I'll definitely have to wrap up.
Yeah, I would like to take this moment. So I am facing the same problem. I'm trying to do some kind of experimentation of hardware lines, and has been facing this. So finding the right resources and the information and the everything, because again, as you said, we cannot find this information on Google. So because it has been a project, I mean, and due to a lot of other reasons, it has been going very slow. So technically being into the software industry and now trying to experiment on the lines of hardware, finding the right information, finding the right people, and then getting things done from the sidelines and remotely because it started recently, right? So need some, I would say, general advice to speed up things.
I think you should not do remotely these kind of things. So hardware, you have to sit with the designer, see what is going on the table. I think that is one thing to start with. Your team should be around you, and because if you are building some prototype, that should be the first thing. Second, invest on a 3D printer, and that will help a lot. So buy a 3D printer. Decent 3D printer will cost you anywhere between 1 lakh to 2 lakh, and then you can quickly reiterate your product and make some small prototypes. That is a good technology to do rapid testing and rapid prototyping for hardware products. Yeah.
Can you repeat that?
Buy a 3D printer. A 3D printer.
Okay. 3D. Yeah, got it.
All right.
Yeah.
If time permits, and I don't think anyone else has a question, would you want to mention what you're hiring for or what you are looking for in the profile so that we can help you do that through Creators of Products, Rishabh?
Sure. So we are looking for a couple of roles. First is inventory management executive or manager. That's entry-level role to manage the inventory, as well as we are buying a lot of stuff from different countries, so to manage all that. So basically inventory manager. Second role which we are hiring is embed software and UAV engineer. So, or a UAV technician. So embed engineer is a mid-level role. UAV engineer or technician is again entry-level role. So 3 jobs. First is UAV engineer entry level. Second is inventory management executive or manager, again entry level. And third is embedded engineer at a mid-level position.
Got it. Great. Govind, Sumit, do you have a question that you might want to ask?
No, I think we already have a long session. I think it's great, and I think it was great enthusiasm from the audience here. Thanks a lot, everyone, for taking out time on Sunday afternoon.
Great. Thank you, everyone. We are Creators of Products. Please come visit us on creatorsofproducts.com. Join us on our Slack community. And this is an invitation specifically for Rishabh. Please join our Founders Club. You'll get access to a whole lot of hiring and other initiatives that we are part of. And we can also beta test. Actually, I am trying to get there. I'm trying to get you to get us a beta testing drone so we can play around with it. So thanks, everyone, for coming over on a Sunday afternoon. Have a great Diwali. Let's see you next Sunday with another amazing guest from Creators of Products. Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you
Thanks
everyone
for the
for
session. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Happy Diwali.